Angela from the blog angelamariemade.com. Welcome back to my channel. I'm starting our entryway makeover today, and I'm going to begin by building a DIY built-in cabinet and bench, all on a budget. Currently our entryway just has our old DIY hall tree in it, which I really love this build, but it was built for our old apartment, so it doesn't really fit the space that great, and I really want more hidden storage and also a larger bench. So I think a custom built-in cabinet and bench is going to be the perfect solution and really welcoming, and I can't wait to style it too. To keep this project budget friendly, I'm going to be building it all totally from scratch, which is the cheapest option. It's way cheaper than hiring it out, and it's cheaper than any IKEA hacks as well. Before we get started though, make sure to hit that subscribe button and follow along. I share fun new DIY and decor videos every week here on the channel. The two issues I have to work around with this space are the current crown molding and the doorbell. Because I want to do crown molding around the top of the cabinet, I'm just going to do the cabinet 84 inches tall, so it won't go all the way to the ceiling, and then I can do the thicker crown molding on it. And then for the doorbell, it's just going to get enclosed within the cabinet, which I think will look better anyway since the doorbell's not very pretty. To start, I just started sketching out what I was envisioning on paper. Then I started to determine the measurements I needed for the built-in cabinet and bench. After sketching things out, Brandon mocked everything up for me in SketchUp. Now I have to move the old hall tree out of the way and all our steps so we can get building. Okay, so the next step is going to be to remove the baseboard and then start building this cabinet shelf. Since we're only doing the built-in on the one wall and corner, I used our Dremel tool to cut the baseboard where the built-in cabinet molding would start. To remove the existing baseboard, I scored the top and corner caulk lines with a utility knife and then used a pry bar and hammer to remove it. The next step is to build the frame of the built-in cabinet. We had our 3/4 inch thick plywood ripped to size for the cabinet frame at our local home improvement store. We also had some scrap plywood that we cut to size with our circular saw. Then I measured the opening needed for our doorbell, and Brandon used a drill and jigsaw to cut out the doorbell opening on the corner wall board. It was a perfect fit. Next, I marked where to drill pocket holes about every 8 to 10 inches along the back plywood frame board and on the top and bottom cabinet frame boards. I used my Craig drill to drill the pocket holes, making sure it was set for 3/4 inch thick wood. To attach the cabinet frame together, I found it easiest just to lay the back cabinet board down on the floor and then clamp the first side frame to it and screw them together with Craig screws. repeated this process for the opposite side frame board as well. After the side frames were attached to the back, I attached the top and bottom boards with Kreg screws to stabilize the cabinet frame. I attached the bottom shelf board 5.5 inches up from the bottom of the side frames for where the molding is going to attach. I considered adding a middle shelf board for more stabilization, but I found that it was sturdy enough without it, and I want my shelves to be adjustable, so I decided not to do a middle shelf with Kreg screws. The cabinet frame fit perfectly in our wall corner. Before attaching our cabinet frame to the wall, I added some paint sticks glued together with wood glue on the subfloor where our laminate floor didn't reach to make sure that our cabinet frame was sitting across a level surface. I used a stud finder to find our studs and then measured and marked on our cabinet where to drill through into the wall studs. I used 3-inch self-tapping screws to drill into the cabinet frame into the wall studs. After attaching the built-in frame to the wall, I trimmed it out, starting with a 1x6 at the top using wood glue and 1¼ brad nails. Then I added some scrap 2x4 blocks to the side frames under the bottom shelf. These blocks are going to give me more stability for attaching my bottom trim. And I used wood glue and 2-inch nails for these 2x4s. I cut 2 pre-primed 1x2s to size and attached them for the side trim. Then I finished off the bottom with another 1x6 board. If I were to do this again though, I would have done the 1x2 trim all the way up the sides with the top 1x6 board in between them like I did with the bottom 1x6 board for a more seamless look on the sides. It's alright though, I can fill all the seams in with caulk and wood filler. The last trim step is to add crown molding to the top of the built-in. I used the classic no compound miter cut method for cutting our outside crown molding corner. This is basically where you just turn the crown molding upside down on the miter saw fence. It works really well with wood crown molding rather than MDF crown. I installed the crown with wood glue on the corner and 1-inch brad nails. Brendan helped me to hold it in place so that it was installed exactly how we wanted it to be. The last step is the built-in door. Before I get into how we actually built that, I did want to mention that you can actually buy a custom sized door online in all different styles. With such a large door and making it inset with European hinges, we definitely ran into a couple mistakes and we had to redo a few parts a few times. But because we really wanted to keep this project on budget, that's why we built it from scratch and went this route. If you did want to do a custom pre-made door online, it would probably cost about $200 more than the materials for the size door. So that's why we didn't go that easier route, but it is an option if you prefer. All right, here's how we built the door. I wanted to do an inset door for a high-end look. We used the exact same method as our DIY bathroom vanity doors. To start, I measured the exact height and width opening of the cabinet for the door and subtracted 1/4 inch from those dimensions to get my door size because you want to have an 1/8 inch gap all the way around the door. I constructed the doors using 1/2 inch plywood framed out with 1x3s and a 1x6 on the bottom of the door. First we cut the boards for the frame of our door, then clamped them together but didn't attach them yet so we could figure out our 1/2-inch plywood cut measurements. For the door design, I created 2 equal sections of the same size and 1 smaller size section. Brandon added pocket holes along all of the plywood sides and on the center door frame board. Then I attached them all together, one section at a time, starting with the plywood and the center door frame boards, followed by the longer side door frame boards. We used a lot of wood glue and 1-inch Craig screws on the 1/2-inch plywood and 1 1/4-inch Craig screws on the door frame board. This is a large door, so using extra pocket holes and wood glue is essential. Also, to add more stability to the door, we added a 1/4-inch sheet of plywood with screws into the door frame and wood glued to the back of the door, leaving a 2-inch gap for the door hinges. We attached a 1x3 on the inside of the cabinet with 1 1/4-inch wood screws to provide a flush surface with our cabinet frame for attaching the door hinges. Then we attached the doors to the cabinet with these Inset European door hinges. We used the Craig concealed door hinge to get the perfect holes for our hinges. To prevent our door from going inwards, which happens with these inset hinges, we used 2 magnetic door catches. I just love these slow close hinges, and I think the door turned out great for a custom DIY cabinet door. The last step is to caulk, fill nail holes, and prime and paint. But because we're going to be adding the built-in bench to the cabinet next week in part 2, I'm going to hold off on this step. Make sure to subscribe and follow along for part 2 next week. I'm super excited to build the built-in bench and finish adding all the final trim. I think it's gonna look really good. Thank you so much for stopping by and watching.